All right. So for part two of this question, this is question D. We are going to look at how to solve that equation. It should go down, shouldn't I? So that you can actually see it. The equation was 13 take away x equals 30. But what we're going to do is learn a new way how to solve it. So in order to do this, we need to really think about our integer operations. It's quite simple and it's faster. And we're doing the exact same thing. We're trying to get our variables on one side and our constants on another side. And we have to really focus on as well the inverse operation for multiplication and division now. So just a quick review, if I have 2x equals 8, how do I get x alone? Well, I just want 1x. And some people went and did that gizmo activity. And in order to get just 1x, I would have to actually divide it by 2. Okay? That will cancel out and give me x alone. But what I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other. And when I do that, I have 4. That makes sense because 2 times 4 is going to give me 8. But what you did here, you knew that this was multiplication, 2 times x. The inverse of multiplication is division. And once you did that, they could cancel out and give you x alone. So let's just keep that in mind as we do this. But we're going to start with the constants, and we're going to try to move them over here on this side. So if I take 13 and I take away another 13 from it, I get like a 0 pair. It is worth 0. And what I do to one side, I must do to the other. And when that happens, I'm left with negative x equals 17. Well, that's fun and dandy, but it doesn't answer the question, because what I want to find out is what is x? What is x? I don't want to find out what negative x is. What is x? So one way that we can do this is we can find the inverse operation and du of multiplication, but you need to know, or do you remember, if I said, draw a little arrow there, the invisible 1, would you know what I'm talking about? Hopefully you would, because right here in front of the x is a 1. This is actually negative 1x. It can be written like that, okay? And negative 1x, I'm going to rewrite this, equals 17. I want you to think back to this. How did I get x alone? Well, if you said that you divided the coefficient, because it's multiplication, the inverse operation, by itself, and in this case it would be negative 1, it's going to cancel out and leave you with x. But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other, which was divide by negative 1. And if you do that, you'll understand that your answer is going to be negative. Because a positive number divided by a negative must be a negative integer, shouldn't it? It should be, right? So this becomes your answer. And we check this on the other page, so hopefully it would work out. And I think it will. So I'm going to do my check, and I have to substitute in for x, negative 17. And it has to equal 30. Well, we know our integer operations, or should. If we don't, we work on them. Perfect. So 13 plus 17 is 30. And it equals 30. So this method works well. And you may want to give it a shot. You can keep variables that are negative. And then what you're going to have to do the inverse operation of, make sure you understand that the negative, the invisible 1 is there, and you can divide and solve.